A kind girl saves an old lady, never expecting her to be the mother of the billionaire CEO. And, hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. The morning sun had barely risen over the quiet streets of Portland when Emily Harper walked briskly down the cracked sidewalk, her worn leather satchel bouncing against her side. She had spent the past hour collecting groceries for her small apartment and was now navigating the early commuters with a careful balance of caution and speed. The scent of freshly baked bread, wafted from a nearby bakery, mingling with the faint aroma of exhaust fumes and damp pavement from last night's rain. Emily noticed an elderly woman struggling with a heavy grocery bag near the corner of Pine Street and Fifth Avenue, wobbling dangerously as she tried to steady herself. Without a second thought, Emily dropped her satchel gently onto the ground and rushed to help. "Here, let me give you a hand," she said softly, extending both hands toward the trembling figure. The old lady looked up with wide eyes, her silver hair catching the morning light, and a weak smile formed on her face. "Oh my, thank you, dear. These bags have become far too heavy for me," she murmured, her voice quivering with age and exhaustion. Emily carefully lifted the bag from the woman's frail grip, balancing it with steady hands, and helped her adjust her posture. Around them, the city continued its rhythm of early morning bustle, yet in this small bubble of shared attention, everything else seemed to fade away. The old lady's hands shook slightly as she accepted Emily's help, and Emily could feel the subtle warmth of her gratitude radiating through the air. As they walked together toward the woman's nearby apartment building, Emily could not help but notice the delicate gold bracelet on the woman's wrist, etched with intricate patterns that seemed familiar in a way she could not quite place. "You have been very kind," the woman said softly. "Not many young people stop to help these days." Emily offered a shy smile. "It is nothing. Everyone deserves a little help sometimes," she replied. They reached the entrance of a modest brick building, and Emily helped the woman up the few steps leading to the door. As the woman fumbled with her keys, Emily caught sight of a polished nameplate beside the entrance that read Mrs. Margaret Langley, a name that stirred a vague sense of recognition in her mind. The woman paused, looking back at Emily, her eyes glistening. "I cannot tell you how grateful I am for your kindness. My daughter would be very proud to know I was not alone this morning," she said with a subtle tremor in her voice. Emily, slightly puzzled, offered a small laugh. "I am glad I could help. It was the right thing to do." The old lady finally managed to unlock the door, and as she slowly made her way inside, Emily noticed a glimpse of something that made her heart skip. A photograph on a small table by the doorway, showing a man in an impeccably tailored suit, standing tall with an unmistakable air of authority and composure. Emily could not yet comprehend the connection, but a faint feeling of anticipation and curiosity stirred within her. She straightened her shoulders and took a step back onto the sidewalk, the cool morning air brushing against her face, her mind buzzing with questions about the woman she had just helped. As Emily turned to continue her walk, a car quietly pulled up nearby, and a young driver offered a polite nod, as if acknowledging her act without words. The rhythm of the city resumed around her, but Emily's thoughts remained anchored to the old lady and the mysterious photograph she had glimpsed. Something about the encounter lingered, a sense that this small act of kindness had set into motion a chain of events far greater than she could imagine, an invisible thread connecting her to people and circumstances beyond her current understanding. The morning light glinted off the buildings and streets, casting long shadows and illuminating the faint smile that lingered on Emily's face, a reflection of the unexpected satisfaction and quiet hope that comes from doing the right thing for another human being, unaware that the simple act of helping an elderly woman would soon lead to revelations that would change her life in ways she had never dreamed possible, hinting at the presence of a powerful figure whose world would intersect with hers in ways both dramatic and heartwarming, setting the stage for a story filled with suspense, empathy, and the intricate weaving of fate. Emily Harper walked back to her small apartment, the morning air crisp against her face and the city noise slowly building around her. Her satchel, now lighter after delivering groceries to Mrs. Margaret Langley, bounced gently against her hip as she navigated the familiar streets of downtown Portland. The encounter with the elderly woman lingered in her mind, a mix of curiosity and a quiet sense of fulfillment she could not easily shake. As she reached the corner of 7th Avenue and Alder Street, the hum of early morning traffic filled the air, punctuated by the occasional bark of a dog or the distant clatter of a bus arriving at the station. Emily paused for a moment, taking a deep breath, the subtle scent of blooming flowers from a nearby community garden mingling with the urban smells of asphalt and exhaust. She adjusted the strap of her satchel and continued toward her building, her thoughts drifting back to the photograph she had glimpsed in Mrs. Langley's apartment. The image of the sharply dressed man with salt and pepper hair and an air of authority stirred something inexplicable in her chest, a hint of recognition she could not yet place. Upon entering her modest apartment, Emily set the groceries on the kitchen counter and leaned against it for a brief moment, allowing herself a small sigh of relief. The morning sun streamed through the thin curtains, casting long stripes of light across the worn wooden floorboards. She took out a notepad from her satchel and began jotting down a list of tasks for the day, her handwriting neat but hurried. The first item on her list was to check in on her freelance bookkeeping clients, followed by a visit to the local community center where she volunteered on weekends. Her apartment, though small, reflected her practical nature: simple furniture, a few framed photographs of friends and family, and a small potted plant on the windowsill added warmth to the space. As she prepared a cup of coffee, the soft aroma filling the room, Emily could not help but glance at the photograph of her own mother, sitting in a silver frame on the kitchen table. The connection between family and kindness weighed on her mind, and she felt a subtle sense of anticipation, as if the morning's events were only the beginning of something much larger. Just as she was about to take a sip of her coffee, her phone vibrated with a notification from a community volunteer group. It was a message from Mrs. Langley, expressing gratitude once again and mentioning that she had shared the story of Emily's kindness with her daughter, who lived in another city. The name of the daughter caused Emily to pause. Mrs. Langley mentioned that her daughter was deeply involved in the technology industry and held a significant position at a prominent corporation. Emily's curiosity deepened, her mind racing with questions about the identity of this influential person and how her small act of help had already made ripples beyond what she could see. She quickly finished her coffee, feeling a renewed sense of purpose, and decided to take a short walk before starting her tasks, allowing herself to mentally prepare for the day ahead. As she stepped outside, the sunlight had fully illuminated the streets, and the city had begun its daily rhythm, people moving briskly to work, school buses making their rounds, and the occasional street musician adding melodies to the urban soundtrack. Emily walked with measured steps, her eyes scanning the buildings and the passing pedestrians, wondering if fate had a way of connecting small acts of kindness to unexpected opportunities. She recalled the delicate bracelet on Mrs. Langley's wrist and the subtle pride in the elderly woman's expression when she had accepted help, and Emily felt a quiet sense of alignment between her intentions and the impact of her actions. While walking, she noticed a sleek black sedan slow down at a nearby intersection, and the passenger window rolled down slightly, revealing a well-dressed woman offering a polite smile and a nod, as if acknowledging Emily from somewhere, though she could not place where. Emily returned the nod, a small shiver of anticipation running down her spine, as if the universe was signaling that the story was far from over. Thoughts of the photograph, the elderly woman, and the mysterious daughter filled her mind, creating a blend of curiosity, excitement, and slight apprehension about what might come next. Each step she took seemed purposeful, her attention fully present in the unfolding moment, aware that her day had already begun with an extraordinary encounter, and that the threads of fate were weaving a path she had yet to fully understand, connecting her to people of influence and kindness in ways that promised to be both surprising and profoundly moving. Emily Harper continued her walk through the lively streets of downtown Portland, the morning sun now warming her back as she passed the familiar coffee shops, boutique stores, and small office buildings that made up her neighborhood. The encounter with Mrs. Margaret Langley still played vividly in her mind, and Emily could not shake the feeling that her small act of kindness had triggered something far beyond what she had expected. Her thoughts returned to the photograph she had glimpsed, the image of a man with a commanding presence, dressed in a sharply tailored suit, standing tall with an air of authority that seemed almost magnetic. Emily wondered about the connection between this man and the elderly woman she had helped, and felt a subtle shiver of curiosity mixed with anticipation. As she approached the small park near the intersection of Pine Street and 7th Avenue, She noticed children playing on the swings, their laughter mingling with the distant hum of traffic and the occasional bark of a dog. A light breeze rustled the leaves of the maples lining the walkway, carrying with it the faint scent of freshly cut grass. Emily slowed her pace, taking in the environment around her, feeling the pulse of the city in contrast to the quiet, intimate moment she had shared with Mrs. Langley. Her attention was drawn to a delivery van pulling up nearby, a young man stepping out with a stack of packages, navigating carefully around pedestrians. She instinctively stepped aside to allow him to pass, her eyes catching a glimmer of sunlight reflecting off a small gold charm on his keychain. It reminded her of the bracelet she had noticed on Mrs. Langley, the intricate patterns that had seemed both delicate and familiar. Emily felt a sense of connection, as if the city itself were weaving a tapestry of small coincidences that guided her towards something important. She continued walking, her steps deliberate, her mind working through possibilities and the subtle implications of the morning encounter. Just as she reached the corner of 8th Avenue and Alder Street, a soft voice called out from behind her, "Excuse me, are you Emily Harper?" She turned quickly, slightly startled, to see a woman in a navy blue suit with a warm smile standing a few feet away. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity and recognition, and she held a small tablet in her hands. Emily hesitated for a moment before responding, "Yes, that is me." The woman nodded politely. "My name is Catherine Langley. I am Mrs. Margaret Langley's daughter. My mother spoke very highly of your kindness this morning, and I wanted to thank you personally." Emily felt her chest tighten with surprise and a touch of disbelief. She had not expected to meet the daughter, let alone someone who carried such a commanding presence, even in casual interaction. She smiled modestly. "It was no trouble at all. I am glad I could help your mother." Catherine's gaze softened, and she gestured toward a nearby bench. "Would you mind sitting for a moment? I would like to talk with you if you have time." Emily nodded. Curiosity piqued, and the two women sat, the sounds of the city forming a gentle backdrop to what promised to be an important conversation. Catherine began to speak, her tone both respectful and earnest. "My mother mentioned your generosity and how effortlessly you stepped in to help her. She also shared some personal stories, and I realized that your values align closely with what our family believes in. I wanted to extend an invitation to you, Emily. My father is someone you may recognize from the photograph you saw. He is very interested in meeting people who act with such integrity and thoughtfulness." Emily's eyes widened slightly, her mind racing to connect the dots. The man from the photograph, the subtle hints in Mrs. Langley's words, and now this direct introduction all pointed to someone of great importance and influence. Catherine continued, "I understand this may come as a surprise, and it is certainly unexpected, but my father would like to meet you, not for anything formal or intimidating, but simply to express gratitude and get to know you better." Emily felt a mixture of excitement, nervousness, and anticipation. The city around them continued its rhythm, but within this small park, time seemed to slow, the air thick with the potential of the meeting ahead. She nodded slowly, her curiosity and sense of propriety guiding her response. "I would be honored to meet him." Catherine smiled warmly, a subtle gleam of approval in her eyes. "Wonderful. We will arrange for a convenient time. Please do not feel pressured. It is simply an opportunity to connect and share stories, and perhaps explore how kindness and integrity can resonate in ways that affect lives unexpectedly." Emily rose from the bench, her heart beating with a combination of anticipation and quiet awe at the unfolding events. As she walked back toward her apartment, she reflected on the series of small actions and coincidences that had led her to this moment, realizing that her simple act of helping an elderly woman had opened the door to a world she had only glimpsed before, and that the next steps in her day, her life, and perhaps her destiny were already being set into motion by choices that began with nothing more than a kind heart and a willingness to help others. A few days later, Emily Harper received a phone call that would change the course of her life. It was Catherine Langley, the daughter of Mrs. Margaret Langley, inviting Emily to a meeting with her father, the man in the photograph, the influential figure she had unknowingly glimpsed in the elderly woman's apartment. Emily had initially been taken aback by the offer. She never imagined her small act of kindness would lead her to someone of such significance. But the more she thought about it, the more she realized this could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. With her heart pounding in her chest, she agreed to meet. The following Thursday, Emily found herself standing in front of a sleek, modern building located in the heart of Portland's business district. The structure gleamed with glass windows that reflected the clear blue sky above, and the air was alive with the sound of busy professionals rushing to and fro. She took a deep breath before entering the building, adjusting the strap of her bag on her shoulder, trying to steady her nerves. As she stepped inside, she was greeted by a polished receptionist who directed her to an elevator. The elevator ride seemed to stretch on forever as the doors slowly closed, and Emily's thoughts raced. What was this meeting going to be like? What could a man of such power and wealth want from her? Was she even worthy of this attention? The elevator finally arrived at the top floor, and Emily stepped out into a grand lobby, the walls lined with expensive art and sleek, minimalist furniture. A man in a well-tailored suit approached her with a warm smile, extending his hand. "Miss Harper, welcome. My name is Alexander Langley. It is a pleasure to finally meet you." Emily's breath caught in her throat. The man standing before her was the same man she had seen in the photograph in Mrs. Langley's apartment, the powerful, composed figure she had only heard about in passing, but now he was standing right in front of her. She shook his hand, trying to steady her voice. "It's a pleasure to meet you too, Mr. Langley. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me." Alexander's smile remained warm, and he motioned for her to follow him down a hallway to a large, luxurious office with floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a stunning view of the city. As they sat down, he gestured for her to make herself comfortable. "I've heard so much about you from my mother," he began, his voice calm but commanding. "She spoke highly of your kindness when you helped her that morning. I wanted to personally thank you for that. Not everyone would have stopped to assist a stranger, but you did, without hesitation." Emily felt a flush of warmth spread across her cheeks. She had never expected any recognition for helping Mrs. Langley. It had simply been the right thing to do. "It was really nothing, Mr. Langley. I'm just glad I could help." Alexander nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "My mother is an exceptional woman, and she has always valued kindness and integrity. I'm sure she saw something in you that resonated with her values. In fact, she mentioned that you were someone with a strong sense of responsibility and selflessness, qualities I deeply respect." Emily shifted in her chair, feeling both humbled and uncomfortable under the weight of his praise. "I try to live my life with those values in mind, but I don't think I've done anything extraordinary," she replied modestly. Alexander leaned forward slightly, his expression softening. "You may not think it's extraordinary, but it is. And that's why I wanted to meet you, to learn more about you and what drives you. I believe that people with such qualities can have a lasting impact, not just in their own lives, but in the lives of others. And sometimes, those impacts can ripple out in ways we never expect." Emily's curiosity piqued. "What do you mean by that?" Alexander paused for a moment before answering. "I'm not just looking for someone to assist my mother, though she certainly appreciates the help. I'm interested in offering you a unique opportunity, one that could benefit both of us. I run a company called Langley Enterprises, and I'm always looking for individuals who possess the kind of qualities you have: compassion, determination, and a strong moral compass. I would like to offer you a position working with us." Emily blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. "A position? But I don't have experience in a corporate setting. I'm just a freelance bookkeeper and volunteer at the community center." Alexander smiled. "I'm not looking for someone with a traditional background. What I see in you is someone who has the heart and mindset that can help shape something bigger. I'm offering you the chance to join my team, to be part of a project that aims to help others, just as you helped my mother. It's an opportunity to use your talents and values in ways you might never have thought possible." Emily felt a wave of emotions flood through her: excitement, disbelief, and a sense of responsibility. She had never imagined her life taking such a turn. I'm honored by your offer, Mr. Langley. I don't know what to say." Alexander's smile grew. "You don't need to say anything right now. Take some time to think about it. I just wanted to extend the opportunity and show you that sometimes a simple act of kindness can open doors to a world of possibilities. Whatever you decide, know that you've already made a lasting impression on me and my family." Emily nodded, her mind racing with the weight of the decision in front of her. As she left the office later that afternoon, her thoughts were consumed with the possibilities this unexpected meeting had presented. It was clear to her now that fate had brought her to this moment, and she would have to carefully consider how her actions could change her future. The next few days passed in a blur for Emily Harper. She could not stop thinking about the meeting with Alexander Langley, the powerful CEO who had made her an unexpected offer. His words echoed in her mind. A simple act of kindness can open doors to a world of possibilities. The idea of working with Langley Enterprises was overwhelming. Emily had never considered herself a corporate person. She was a freelance bookkeeper, a volunteer, and someone who found fulfillment in small, everyday actions. Yet, the more she thought about Alexander's offer, the more she realized that this might be an opportunity she couldn't pass up. As she walked home from the local community center, Emily felt the weight of the decision before her. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden glow over the streets of Portland. She passed by familiar buildings, the small coffee shop she often visited, the bookstore she loved to browse in, and the park where she had helped Mrs. Langley just days before. Everything seemed so ordinary, yet Emily knew her life was on the verge of changing. Later that evening, as she sat in her small apartment with a cup of tea, Emily reflected on the possibilities ahead. She had always believed that the small, simple things in life were what mattered most. But now, Alexander Langley had introduced her to a different world, one filled with influence, opportunities, and challenges she had never imagined. Was she ready to step into that world? Could she balance her desire to help others with the responsibilities that came with a job in such a powerful company? Emily had been taught to value integrity, compassion, and service to others, but now she had to consider how those values fit into a corporate environment. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from Catherine Langley, the daughter of Alexander, asking if Emily had made a decision. Emily paused, fingers hovering over the screen, before typing a quick response. "Thank you for the opportunity, Catherine. I'm still thinking it through, but I would love to meet again to discuss it." A few moments later, Catherine replied, "We're glad to hear that. Let me know when you're ready. My father is looking forward to talking with you more." Emily put the phone down and leaned back in her chair, her mind still racing. She wasn't sure what her next step should be. Would she accept the offer and dive into the world of Langley Enterprises, or would she stay true to the quiet life she had always known? The next morning, Emily decided to take a walk to clear her head. She strolled through the park, the familiar path offering her a sense of calm as she watched children playing, couples walking hand in hand, and elderly people enjoying the sunshine. It was the life she knew, the one she had built for herself, and it felt safe. But then, a thought occurred to her. What if she could have both? What if she could use the position at Langley Enterprises not just to build her own future, but to help others as well? The more she thought about it, the more the idea seemed plausible. She didn't have to change who she was. She could still be the kind, compassionate person who made a difference in small ways. But now, with a larger platform, she could do even more. Emily smiled to herself, the weight of the decision slowly lifting from her shoulders. That afternoon, she called Catherine Langley. "I'm ready to meet again," she said, her voice steady and sure. "I think I'm ready for this new opportunity." Catherine was thrilled. "Wonderful. Let's set something up for tomorrow. We'll talk more about the role and how you can make an impact at Langley Enterprises." As Emily hung up the phone, she felt a sense of clarity she hadn't experienced in days. She had made her decision. The road ahead might be challenging, but she was ready to embrace it. With a deep breath, she realized that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could lead to the biggest changes. And she was ready to take the next step in her journey, knowing that whatever happened, she could still stay true to herself and her values. The following day, Emily Harper arrived at the Langley Enterprises headquarters, feeling both excited and nervous. The decision she had made to accept the opportunity had been daunting, but now that she was standing at the door of this powerful company, she couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation about what lay ahead. As she entered the sleek glass building, the atmosphere was immediately different from her usual surroundings. There was a palpable energy in the air, a quiet hum of efficiency and purpose. The lobby was vast, with polished marble floors and modern artwork adorning the walls. A receptionist greeted her warmly and led her to an elevator that would take her to Alexander Langley's office. As the elevator doors closed, Emily looked at her reflection in the mirrored walls, silently reminding herself that this was her chance to make a real difference. Her heart raced as the elevator ascended. When the doors finally opened, she stepped out into a spacious office area with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city below. The decor was elegant yet minimalist, with an air of sophistication and calm. She was escorted into a large office at the end of the hall. The man she had met a few days ago, Alexander Langley, was waiting for her with a welcoming smile. His office was a testament to his success, luxurious yet understated. He rose from his chair to greet her, his tall frame towering over her as he extended his hand. "Miss Harper, welcome. I'm glad to see you again," he said with a genuine warmth in his voice. "Please, have a seat." Emily smiled nervously as she sat across from him. The reality of the situation began to settle in, but she reminded herself to stay grounded. "Thank you, Mr. Langley. I'm excited to be here." Alexander nodded. "I know this is a big change for you, and I appreciate you taking the leap. I think you'll find that our company values the same principles that you hold dear: kindness, integrity, and making a difference in the world. That's why I wanted to meet with you in person today to discuss how you can contribute to our mission." Emily felt her nerves ease slightly. She had wondered about the role she would play in such a large company, but now, hearing Alexander's words, it felt like a step in the right direction. "I'm ready to do whatever I can," she said sincerely. "I believe in the work that you do, and I want to help make a positive impact." Alexander smiled. "That's exactly what we need. Let me give you a brief overview of the project we've been working on. Langley Enterprises has always been about more than just profits. We believe in creating opportunities for communities and individuals who may not have access to them otherwise. One of our current initiatives is a social enterprise project that aims to provide educational resources and job training to underserved populations. We're working on expanding this program, and that's where you come in." Emily leaned forward, her interest piqued. "How exactly can I help with this project?" she asked, eager to understand her role. Alexander's expression turned serious, yet filled with conviction. "We need someone who understands the importance of giving back, someone who can bridge the gap between the business side and the community side of things. I believe your experience working with small businesses and your passion for volunteer work make you the perfect fit. You'll be helping us not only manage the logistics of the project, but also ensure that we stay true to our mission of making a real difference." Emily felt a rush of excitement. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for, a chance to combine her values with meaningful work on a larger scale. "I'm honored that you see that in me," she said, her voice steady with newfound confidence. Alexander nodded. "You've already demonstrated those qualities with your actions. Now, it's time to scale them up. We believe in empowering people, and I know you're someone who can help us do that. Over the next few weeks, you'll start meeting with our team and getting a better understanding of the project's scope. I want you to be fully prepared before we launch the next phase." Emily felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had made the right decision by coming here. This was more than just a job. It was an opportunity to make a lasting impact. As the meeting ended, Alexander offered his hand again. "I'm looking forward to seeing the work we'll do together, Miss Harper." Emily shook his hand, her heart full of purpose. "So am I, Mr. Langley. I'm ready to get started." As she left the office, Emily's thoughts raced with excitement. She was no longer just someone trying to make ends meet. She was now part of something bigger, something that had the potential to change lives. And she couldn't wait to get to work. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Emily Harper. As she settled into her new role at Langley Enterprises, the excitement she felt initially had slowly transformed into a deep sense of responsibility. She had been tasked with overseeing the Social Enterprise Project, a large-scale initiative aimed at providing educational resources and job training to underserved communities. Each day brought new challenges, but Emily found herself rising to the occasion, using her background in volunteer work and small business management to guide the project forward. She worked closely with Alexander Langley and Catherine, who had become her primary point of contact within the company. The more Emily learned about the project, the more she understood the scope of what they were trying to achieve. It wasn't just about providing resources, it was about creating lasting change, about giving people the tools they needed to build better futures for themselves and their families. Emily had always believed in the power of helping others, but now she saw the profound impact that large-scale efforts could have on entire communities. One afternoon, as Emily sat at her desk reviewing reports, she received a message from Catherine, inviting her to an important meeting the next day. Catherine had hinted that they were about to expand the project into a new city, and Emily's role would be pivotal in making it happen. The thought of taking on even more responsibility made Emily nervous, but she knew this was a critical step in her journey. She spent the rest of the evening preparing for the meeting, going over every detail of the project she could find, and researching the challenges that came with launching a project of this scale. The next morning, she arrived at the office early, her nerves buzzing with anticipation. When the meeting began, Alexander spoke first, outlining the company's vision for the expansion. "We've seen incredible results in the communities we've already worked with, but now it's time to take it further. We're looking to expand into a new city, and I believe this project will have a ripple effect that will continue to grow," he said. "Emily, your role will be to lead the efforts on the ground, working directly with local organizations, government officials, and community leaders to ensure that our initiative is not only implemented successfully, but also sustained for the long term." Emily's heart raced as she processed the weight of his words. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the chance to truly make a difference on a larger scale. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was ready. The meeting continued, with Alexander and Catherine outlining the next steps. Emily would need to travel to the new city, meet with key stakeholders, and lay the groundwork for the expansion. "We believe in you, Emily," Catherine said with a smile. "You've already proven yourself to be an asset to this team, and we have no doubt you'll lead this project with the same passion and dedication you've shown so far." After the meeting, Emily sat in her office, the reality of the task ahead sinking in. She had only just begun to feel comfortable in her new role, and now she was being entrusted with something much bigger. She couldn't help but think about her life before this, working as a freelance bookkeeper, volunteering at local charities, living in a small apartment, and wondering if she was truly making an impact. But now, she was at the helm of something that could change lives, not just hers, but the lives of so many others. The next few days were a blur of preparations. Emily packed her bags and made travel arrangements, knowing that the first step in this new chapter was about to begin. She arrived in the new city a few days later, the hustle and bustle of urban life surrounding her as she stepped out of the taxi. The city was much larger than Portland, its streets lined with towering buildings and flashing billboards. As she made her way to the first meeting, Emily's nerves were on edge, but there was also a spark of excitement. She was about to dive headfirst into a world of new people, new challenges, and new opportunities to create lasting change. The meeting went smoothly, and over the next few weeks, Emily worked tirelessly to build relationships with local organizations and leaders. She helped organize workshops, coordinated with volunteers, and ensured that every detail of the project was executed with precision. Slowly, the initiative began to take shape, and Emily could already see the potential for positive change in the community. As she stood outside one of the newly built community centers, watching families gather for the grand opening, Emily felt a profound sense of pride. She had come a long way from the uncertain woman who had first stepped into Langley Enterprises. Now, she was leading a project that was making a real difference in people's lives. It was a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could lead to the most significant changes, and Emily was living proof of that. As the weeks passed, Emily Harper settled into her new role with growing confidence. The community center she had helped establish in the new city was beginning to flourish, and her efforts were already bearing fruit. Local residents were starting to take advantage of the educational resources and job training programs, and the feedback from volunteers and community leaders was overwhelmingly positive. Emily felt a deep sense of fulfillment as she watched people's lives begin to transform. However, her success did not come without challenges. The project was still in its early stages, and there were moments when it seemed like the obstacles were too great to overcome. There were budget constraints, logistical hurdles, and the occasional community resistance to change. But Emily, who had learned to persevere through difficult times in her own life, refused to let these challenges stop her. She continued to work long hours, meeting with local leaders, addressing concerns, and making adjustments to the project as needed. One day, as she was reviewing a report in her office, her phone buzzed with a message from Margaret Langley. "I wanted to update you on a new opportunity," the message read. "There's a major investor interested in expanding our social enterprise program further. They want to meet with you." Emily's heart skipped a beat. The idea of meeting with an investor was exciting, but it also brought a wave of nervousness. This was another critical moment, one that could determine the future of the project. She quickly replied, "I'd be happy to meet. When and where?" Catherine responded almost immediately, "Tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Langley Enterprises. It's important. I'll fill you in when you get here." The following morning, Emily arrived at Langley Enterprises, her mind racing with questions about the meeting. She was ushered into a conference room where Alexander Langley and Catherine were already waiting. As she sat down, Alexander smiled warmly at her. "We're glad you could make it, Emily," he said. "We've been following the progress of the project closely, and we're incredibly impressed with how well it's been going. The investor we're meeting with has taken an interest in expanding the initiative even further, but we need someone with your vision to help lead the next phase." Emily nodded, trying to steady her nerves. "I'm ready for whatever is needed," she replied, her voice steady despite the growing anticipation inside her. Just then, the door opened, and a man entered the room. He was tall, well-dressed, and exuded an air of authority. His sharp eyes scanned the room before landing on Emily. "Hello, Miss Harper. I'm Richard Ford," he said, extending his hand. Emily shook his hand, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Richard Ford was a prominent businessman, known for his investments in social enterprises and charitable causes. This meeting was an opportunity for Emily to prove herself on a much larger stage. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Ford," Emily said politely. Richard smiled and sat down across from her. "I've heard a lot about the work you've been doing. The impact of this project in the community is impressive. I'm interested in taking it to the next level." Emily listened carefully as Richard outlined his vision. "We believe in the potential of this project, but we need someone who can help us navigate the next phase of growth. We want to expand into multiple cities, and I think you have the right skill set to help make that happen." The opportunity was exhilarating, but it also came with its own set of challenges. Expanding to multiple cities would require careful planning, additional resources, and a team of dedicated individuals. But Emily, who had already shown her ability to manage complex tasks and overcome obstacles, was up for the challenge. "I'm honored by your confidence in me, Mr. Ford," Emily replied, her voice steady. "I'm ready to take this to the next level. I believe in this project, and I know we can make an even bigger impact." Richard Ford nodded. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I think we can work together to make this happen." The meeting ended on a high note, and as Emily left the building, she couldn't help but feel a renewed sense of purpose. She had started this journey with nothing but a desire to help others, but now it was clear that she was on the verge of something much bigger. The opportunity to expand the project and help even more people was within her reach, and she was ready to take the next step. That evening, as she sat in her apartment, reflecting on the day's events, Emily couldn't help but think back to the moment when she had first stepped into Langley Enterprises. She had come a long way since then, from a small-time bookkeeper to a key player in a life-changing project. She had learned that even the smallest acts of kindness could lead to extraordinary opportunities. And now, with the support of Alexander Langley, Catherine, and Richard Ford, Emily knew that she had the chance to make a lasting impact on a much larger scale. It was a humbling thought, but it also filled her with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She was no longer just someone trying to make a difference. She was part of something much greater, something that had the power to change lives and shape the future. Weeks went by quickly as Emily Harper dove deeper into her new role at Langley Enterprises. The pressure of managing the expansion of the social enterprise project weighed heavily on her, but it also fueled her determination. She spent countless hours coordinating with the local teams, meeting with key stakeholders, and ensuring that everything was moving smoothly. The scale of the project was far larger than anything she had ever experienced, but Emily's passion for the cause kept her focused. Every morning, she walked through the bustling streets of the new city, the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but also a deep sense of fulfillment. The community centers were thriving, and the educational programs were beginning to make a significant impact on the lives of those who had once felt forgotten. Yet, even as the project expanded, Emily found herself facing new challenges. With every success came a new obstacle, and as the scope of the project grew, so did the complexity of managing it. She worked long hours, often late into the night, balancing meetings, strategy sessions, and the logistics of moving the project into additional cities. But with each challenge, Emily's resolve only grew stronger. One day, after a particularly exhausting week, Emily received an unexpected call from Alexander Langley. His voice was calm, but there was a sense of urgency behind it. "Emily, I need you to meet me as soon as possible. There's an issue with the expansion plans, and I think you're the best person to handle it." Emily's heart skipped a beat. She knew this was an important conversation, but she had no idea what the issue could be. She agreed to meet Alexander the next morning at Langley Enterprises, feeling a sense of unease in the pit of her stomach. The next day, she arrived at the office early, her mind racing with possibilities. When she entered Alexander's office, he was standing by the window, looking out over the city. He turned as she walked in, his expression serious but not unkind. "Emily, I'm glad you're here. We've hit a snag with the funding for the expansion project," he said, motioning for her to take a seat. Emily sat down, her mind immediately shifting into problem-solving mode. "What's the issue exactly?" she asked, trying to stay calm despite the uncertainty that had gripped her. Alexander explained that the primary investor had withdrawn their support, citing concerns about the long-term sustainability of the project. This left Langley Enterprises in a precarious position, as they had already committed significant resources to the expansion. "We have the opportunity to salvage this," Alexander continued, "but we need someone who can come up with a new plan and secure additional funding. I'm confident you're the right person for the job." Emily took a deep breath, the weight of the situation settling over her. She had worked too hard to let everything fall apart now. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this work," she said, her voice steady despite the pressure she felt. Alexander gave her a small nod of approval. "I knew I could count on you. I have complete faith that you'll find a solution." With the meeting over, Emily left Langley Enterprises feeling a mixture of determination and apprehension. This was the most significant challenge she had faced since joining the company, but she refused to let it defeat her. She spent the following days meeting with potential investors, refining the project's pitch, and reworking the financials to make the initiative more appealing. Her days were filled with meetings, phone calls, and late nights spent analyzing every detail of the expansion plan. She pushed through her exhaustion, knowing that the future of the project and the lives of so many people depended on her success. As the deadline approached, Emily found herself growing more and more focused. She had worked in business before, but this was different. This project wasn't just about profits, it was about giving people a chance at a better life, and that made all the difference. The day of the final meeting arrived, and Emily felt her heart racing as she stepped into the conference room, a folder full of documents in hand. She was met by a group of potential investors, each one staring at her with a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Emily stood tall, took a deep breath, and began her pitch. She spoke passionately about the impact the project had already made, the potential for growth, and the difference it could continue to make in the lives of underserved communities. As she spoke, she could see the change in the room, the initial skepticism melting away as the investors began to see the vision she had for the future. When she finished, there was a long pause before one of the investors spoke. "We're impressed," he said, glancing around the room. "We'll back this project." Emily's heart soared with relief and pride. It had worked. Her hard work, perseverance, and belief in the project had paid off. As the meeting concluded, Emily felt a sense of accomplishment unlike any she had ever known. She had faced the impossible and had come out victorious. When she left the building, she looked up at the sky, a small smile playing on her lips. This was just the beginning, and she knew that the work ahead would be just as challenging and rewarding. But for now, Emily Harper had proven to herself and others that with determination and heart, anything was possible. The days following Emily's victory in securing funding for the social enterprise project were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The weight of the previous month seemed to lift off her shoulders, and she could finally see the progress that had been made. With the expansion now back on track, Emily dove into the work ahead with more determination than ever. She coordinated the final details for the new cities, ensuring that everything from logistics to local partnerships was in place. Her phone was constantly buzzing with calls from investors, community leaders, and her growing team, but Emily managed to keep a steady hand, guiding everyone toward their shared goal. It was clear that the project was on the brink of something great. As Emily settled into her role as the leader of this large-scale initiative, she found herself reflecting on her journey. Just a year ago, she had been a freelance bookkeeper, uncertain of her place in the world. But now, she was part of something far greater, something that would leave a lasting impact on the lives of countless individuals. The project was not just about providing educational resources or job training. It was about giving people the tools they needed to build a better future for themselves and their families. Emily's heart swelled with pride every time she visited one of the community centers, watching people's lives change before her eyes. She knew this was the work she was meant to do. One afternoon, as she was reviewing the latest progress reports, she received a call from Alexander Langley. "Emily, I need you to come to my office," he said, his voice calm but serious. "There's something I want to discuss with you." Emily's pulse quickened. She had grown used to his steady presence and his mentorship, but there was something in his tone that made her nervous. She quickly gathered her things and made her way to Langley Enterprises. When she arrived, Alexander was waiting for her in his office. He gestured for her to sit, and after a moment of silence, he spoke. "Emily, I've been keeping an eye on the expansion, and I have to say, I'm impressed with your leadership. You've managed to turn this project into something extraordinary." Emily felt a swell of pride, but she remained humble. "Thank you, Alexander. I couldn't have done it without the team and the support from everyone involved." Alexander nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I know, but there's something more I want to discuss. You've proven yourself time and time again, and I believe you're ready for the next step. We've been looking to bring someone into a senior role within Langley Enterprises, and I think you're the perfect fit." Emily's heart skipped a beat. A senior role at Langley Enterprises? She hadn't even considered that as a possibility. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Alexander leaned forward slightly. "I want you to take on a larger role with the company. You've shown that you have the vision, the drive, and the compassion to lead at a higher level. I believe that with your skills and passion for the project, you can help Langley Enterprises grow in ways we've never imagined. This would mean more responsibility, of course, but I have complete confidence in you." Emily was stunned. She had worked so hard to make the social enterprise project a success, but the idea of stepping into a senior leadership role was overwhelming. She had never envisioned herself in such a position, but as Alexander spoke, she realized how far she had come. A year ago, she had never dreamed of working at Langley Enterprises, let alone leading an initiative that was changing lives. And now, here she was, being offered the opportunity to take her work to an even higher level. After a long pause, Emily finally spoke. "I'm honored by your offer, Alexander. I never imagined I'd be in this position. I'm grateful for the trust you're placing in me, and I'm ready to take on the responsibility. I'll give it everything I have." Alexander smiled, his eyes filled with pride. "I knew you would. You've earned this, Emily. I'm excited to see what you'll do next." As Emily left the office, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and gratitude. The path ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to embrace it. She had found her purpose, and she knew that her journey was just beginning. The opportunity to lead at Langley Enterprises was a new chapter in her life, one that would allow her to make an even bigger impact on the world. She had come so far from the woman who had once wondered if she was truly making a difference. Now, she knew that she was changing lives, one person at a time. And as she walked out of the building, a sense of calm washed over her. She was exactly where she was meant to be. Months passed, and Emily Harper settled more comfortably into her new role at Langley Enterprises. The responsibility of overseeing the company's growing initiatives filled her days, but she found herself more energized and determined than ever before. With the social enterprise project expanding into multiple cities, Emily now managed a dedicated team, and the work had taken on a life of its own. It was no longer just about providing resources. It was about creating a network of support for communities that were once overlooked. The long hours and pressure had become part of the routine, but Emily embraced the challenge. Every time she visited one of the new centers in the cities they had expanded into, she was reminded of the impact they were making. It was the kind of work that could change lives, and that motivated her to push forward even on the toughest days. One afternoon, as she reviewed quarterly reports in her office, her phone rang. It was Catherine Langley. "Emily, there's something I need to discuss with you," Catherine said. Her tone was serious, but not urgent. "Can you meet me and Alexander at the office?" Emily's curiosity was piqued. She had worked closely with both Alexander and Catherine for months, and they had been her mentors throughout the expansion. Something about the tone in Catherine's voice made her feel like this conversation was going to be different. She agreed to meet them right away. When Emily arrived at Langley Enterprises, she was greeted by both Alexander and Catherine in a conference room. As she sat down, Alexander wasted no time getting to the point. "Emily, as you know, Langley Enterprises has been growing rapidly, and we've made a lot of progress with the social enterprise project. But we're about to face a new phase of growth, one that will require a significant amount of leadership. That's where you come in." Emily listened intently, sensing that this was the beginning of another pivotal moment in her journey. "We've been considering a shift in the company's structure," Alexander continued. "With the expansion and success of the social enterprise project, we need someone who can help steer Langley Enterprises into this next phase. We believe you're the right person to take on the role of Chief Operations Officer." Emily blinked. taking a moment to process what Alexander had said. A chief operations officer? The position was a significant leap from where she had started. "I'm honored by the offer," Emily said, trying to steady the surge of emotions. "But I've only just started to find my footing. This is a huge responsibility." Catherine smiled warmly. "We understand your concerns, Emily. This isn't a decision we're taking lightly. But you've proven time and again that you have the vision, the leadership, and the heart to take Langley Enterprises to the next level. We believe in you, and we know you're ready for this challenge." Emily felt a rush of gratitude and a touch of disbelief. She had come so far in such a short time. A year ago, she was struggling to make ends meet as a freelance bookkeeper, and now she was being offered a leadership role in a growing company. The responsibility was daunting, but the chance to make a larger impact was undeniable. "I never expected to be here," Emily said quietly. "I started this journey because I wanted to make a difference, and I still want that. I don't know if I'm ready for such a big role, but I'm willing to give it everything I've got." Alexander nodded, his expression filled with respect. "That's exactly why we're offering you this position. You've always put the work and the mission first. That's what we need as we continue to grow. This will be a huge opportunity for you and for Langley Enterprises. But most importantly, it will be a chance for you to continue making a real difference." Emily sat back in her chair, the weight of the decision settling over her. It was a lot to take in, but she knew in her heart that she was ready. This was the moment that would define the next chapter of her life, and she was determined to seize it. "I'll do it," Emily said, her voice filled with conviction. "I'll take on the role of Chief Operations Officer, and I promise to give it everything I have." Catherine's smile widened. "I knew you would. We're excited to see what you'll accomplish in this new role, Emily." As the meeting ended, Emily left the office with a new sense of purpose. She had accepted the challenge, and now she was ready to take Langley Enterprises to new heights. The road ahead would be filled with challenges, but Emily was no longer afraid. She had proven to herself that she could overcome anything, and she knew that with hard work and determination, she would continue to change lives, just as she had always hoped. The first few weeks as Chief Operations Officer were both exciting and challenging for Emily Harper. Stepping into such a significant role at Langley Enterprises was a dramatic shift from the work she had been doing before. As the leader of the operations team, she was responsible for overseeing the expansion of their social enterprise project, coordinating between multiple departments, and ensuring everything ran smoothly as the company grew. It was a lot to manage, but Emily was determined to succeed. She quickly found her rhythm, balancing her responsibilities with the same dedication and passion she had always brought to her work. The company's growth was exponential, and with that growth came new hurdles. Emily often found herself navigating tricky negotiations with investors, managing tight deadlines, and resolving issues that required quick thinking and precision. Yet, no matter how difficult the task, Emily always found herself rising to the occasion. Each success fueled her determination to push forward, knowing that the work she was doing was changing lives for the better. One afternoon, after an exhausting series of meetings, Emily was sitting in her office when Margaret Langley knocked on the door. "Emily, can we talk?" Catherine asked, her tone serious but calm. Emily looked up from the report she was reviewing and nodded. "Of course, Catherine. What's on your mind?" Catherine closed the door behind her and sat down across from Emily. "There's something I need to discuss with you," she began. "It's about the next phase of the project. We've had some feedback from the investors, and they want to push the timeline forward. They're excited about the impact we're making, but they're concerned that we might be spreading ourselves too thin. They want more results, faster." Emily listened intently, her brow furrowed in thought. "I understand the pressure, but I also know that we need to be careful," she said. "We can't rush this process. If we do, we risk compromising the quality of the work we're doing and, more importantly, the lives we're trying to change." Catherine nodded, her expression thoughtful. "I agree with you, but the investors are insistent. They want to see more concrete outcomes, and soon, we need to figure out a way to meet their expectations without sacrificing the integrity of the project." Emily sat back in her chair, taking a deep breath. The pressure was mounting, but she had never been one to back down from a challenge. She had worked too hard to let it slip away now. "I think we need to look at our resources," Emily said, after a moment of contemplation. "If we're going to speed up the process, we need more support. More hands on deck, more funding for additional programs, and better coordination between the teams. Catherine nodded again. I think that's a good approach. I'll speak with the investors and see if we can secure more funding. In the meantime, can you work with the team to streamline the processes and ensure we're as efficient as possible? Emily agreed. She knew that the road ahead would be tough, but she also knew that with the right strategy and determination, they could make it work. Over the next few weeks, Emily threw herself into the task at hand. She worked closely with her team to optimize every process, finding ways to increase efficiency without sacrificing the quality of their work. She also reached out to new partners and advocates who could help provide additional resources for the project, making sure they had the support they needed to scale. Despite the long hours and the pressure, Emily felt a sense of pride in the work they were doing. They were making real, tangible change in the communities they had touched, and that made it all worth it. As the project began to gain momentum, Emily felt more confident in her leadership role. She had proven to herself that she could handle the responsibility, and she was learning to navigate the complexities of running a large-scale operation. One evening, after a particularly long day, Emily sat alone in her office, looking out over the city skyline. She couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. A year ago, she had been uncertain about her place in the world, unsure if she was truly making a difference. But now, she was at the helm of something that was truly changing lives. The challenges were far from over, but Emily was ready for whatever came next. She had found her purpose, and she knew that with hard work, integrity, and dedication, she could continue to make a lasting impact on the world. As the months passed, Emily Harper's leadership at Langley Enterprises continued to yield incredible results. The social enterprise project had expanded into more cities, and each community it touched showed signs of transformation. Emily's role as Chief Operations Officer had proven to be more than just a title. It was a testament to her hard work, determination, and passion for making a difference. She had learned to navigate the complexities of managing large-scale projects, and her ability to lead her team through challenges had earned her the respect and admiration of her colleagues. The pressure was still there, but Emily had become accustomed to it. Her daily routine now included managing an ever-growing team, liaising with investors, and refining the operational aspects of the social enterprise. However, despite the increased responsibility, Emily never lost sight of why she had started this journey. Every time she visited one of the community centers they had established, she was reminded of the impact they were making. She saw firsthand how access to education, job training, and support was changing the lives of individuals and families. It wasn't just about numbers on a page, it was about real people, and Emily never lost sight of that. One afternoon, after a particularly long day of meetings, Emily sat in her office looking out at the city skyline, reflecting on everything she had accomplished. She thought back to the day she had first met Mrs. Margaret Langley and how she had never imagined that act of kindness would lead her here. She had started this journey as a woman who wanted to help others, unsure of what her place in the world was, and now she was leading a movement that was changing lives. Emily smiled to herself, knowing that this was just the beginning. Her phone buzzed on her desk, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Alexander Langley. Emily, I'd like to meet with you tomorrow morning. I have something important to discuss. The message was simple, but there was something in the tone that piqued her curiosity. The next morning, she arrived at Langley Enterprises, eager to find out what Alexander wanted to discuss. When she entered his office, he was waiting for her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Emily," he greeted her. "I wanted to take a moment to congratulate you. You've done an incredible job leading the expansion of the project, and I'm proud of everything you've accomplished." Emily felt a rush of gratitude, but also a sense of modesty. "Thank you, Alexander. I couldn't have done it without the support of my team and the vision we've shared." Alexander nodded. "I know, and that's why I want to offer you something. You've proven yourself as a leader, and I believe you're ready to take on even more. I want to officially offer you the role of President of Langley Enterprises." Emily was speechless for a moment. The offer took her by surprise. She had never imagined herself in such a role. As president, she would have even more influence over the company's direction, and the responsibility would be far greater. But as she looked at Alexander, she realized that this was an opportunity she couldn't turn down. "I'm honored, Alexander," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I'm ready for this next step. I'll give it everything I have." Alexander smiled, clearly pleased with her response. "I know you will, Emily. You've already proven time and again that you have the ability to lead with integrity and vision." I have no doubt that you'll continue to take Langley Enterprises to new heights." As Emily left the meeting, a sense of awe washed over her. She had come so far since that first day when she had helped Mrs. Langley. She had taken on challenges, built something meaningful, and now she was about to lead an entire company. It was more than she had ever dreamed possible. Later that evening, Emily stood outside the office building, looking up at the sky. The city around her was buzzing with activity, but in that moment, everything felt still. She had found her place in the world, and it was a place where she could make a lasting impact. The journey had been long and filled with challenges, but it had also been incredibly rewarding. Emily knew that she had the opportunity to shape the future, to lead with compassion and vision, and to create change on a scale she had never imagined. As she looked out at the city, she realized that this was just the beginning. The work ahead would be difficult, but she was ready. And as the sun set behind the skyline, Emily felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Follow Emily Harper's inspiring journey in this captivating millionaire story that takes you from humble beginnings to a leadership role at Langley Enterprises. In this millionaire story, Emily begins as a freelance bookkeeper, uncertain of her future, but through determination and hard work, she becomes the chief operations officer, eventually leading the company's expansion efforts. From her first encounter with Mrs. Margaret Langley, Emily's life begins to change in extraordinary ways, as she finds herself working on a social enterprise project that aims to transform communities. As the project grows, so does Emily's role, and she faces challenges that test her abilities, but she rises to every occasion. Her story is a testament to the power of kindness, vision, and perseverance. In another remarkable twist of fate, Emily is offered the position of President of Langley Enterprises, an opportunity that feels like a dream come true. This millionaire story showcases how a single act of kindness can lead to extraordinary opportunities, and how one woman's dedication can change lives on a massive scale. As Emily continues her journey, she realizes that the road ahead is just the beginning, and the impact she will have will be greater than she ever imagined. This millionaire story is not just about wealth, it's about the power of believing in yourself and the difference you can make in the world.